In this video, my partner Anthony and I will be showing you how to solve algebraic expressions. Now this topic isn't really that hard, but we'll start off with an easy one just to get you acquainted with it. So the first one that we're going to do is x minus 4 equals 10. So the first thing you want to do is isolate the variable by adding 4 to both sides. Now when you add a plus 4 to the minus 4, you get rid of the minus 4. So basically just cross that out, that's out of there, and then add 4 to 10, and that would be 14. X equals 14. Now that's one of the easier problems, and probably the easiest problem you'll be able to find unless you use smaller numbers in this specific topic. So I'll show you a little bit harder one. So instead of adding just x, we'll do 2x minus 4 equals 10. Now you start off the same exact way. You just add 4 to both sides. You get rid of the minus 4, help isolate the variable, and it would be 2x equals 14, excuse me. And now, to get rid of multiplying 2x, you have to divide, because 2 times x, multiplication, to the inverse. So, to get rid of that, you'd have to divide 2 by both sides. So, divide 2, you would get 1, which would be 1x, but, you know, that's not really that hard, so it would just be x, and then you divide that by 2, and 14 divided by 2 is 7. So that's not that much more difficult, but it's a little more difficult. Now, it gets a little trickier when you bring in fractions, because I know everyone's not very good at fractions. So the next problem we're going to do is, excuse me, it's a 5. 2 over 5a equals 6 2 2/5. So first, this one doesn't have any addition or subtraction, so you would just go straight to doing the inverse of multiplication or division, whatever you're doing in that particular case. So you would add the inverse of 2/5, which is 5 over 2, to get rid of 2/5. So basically you could cross out the two numbers because they cancel each other out. And then in this one, I find it personally easier to change it to an improper fraction, so you can cancel. So you would change it to excuse me, 32 over 5. And I am assuming you all know how to change mixed number into an improper fraction. So then you multiply that by the inverse of 2/5, which is 5 over 2, and you cross out whatever you can. So you would cross out the 5 and the 5 to make 1, and the 2 and the 32 to make 16. Now, all you're left with is a 16 because everything else is 1. So your answer is just 16. And that's a little more difficult than the other ones, but still not the hardest. Now we're going to do one that has a variable as the numerator. These are a little more tricky, but not that tricky. So we'll do negative y over 12 equals 1/4. So for this one, also doesn't have any addition or multiplication. So basically, we just go straight to the multiplication or division. So in this case, you would multiply 12 over 1 and cancel. So it would just be negative y over nothing, 1 basically, so over nothing. And then you would have to multiply 1/4 times 12 over 1. So what's easy about this one is that everything works out, so you can cancel. Others aren't that easy. There might be some that you have to figure it out by simplifying a large fraction. But this one you could just cancel 4 and 12. So 4 would be 1 and 12 would be 3 because 4 times 3 is 12. And it would be negative y equals 3. Now, when you have a negative y, you have to basically just multiply both sides or divide both sides by negative 1. Or you could just, how I think of it, just whatever the sign is, if the variable is a negative, just change the sign to the answer. So it would be y equals minus 3, and that would be your answer for this case. Okay, one more. Actually, two more. So this one is a little hard because it's working with a negative. It would be 9x plus 18 equals 12. Now, you would have to subtract 18 from both sides, like I showed you before, and you would get 9x equals minus 6, because you're subtracting a larger number from a smaller number. Minus 6. Then you would have to isolate the variable. In this case, you would have to divide 9 by both sides. But instead of actually dividing the numbers, like 9 from 6, you can just simplify it to minus 2 over 3, because that's what the most basic form of 6 over 9 is. And that would just be your answer, instead of having to divide it and getting either a long decimal or end up getting the same answer for even more work. And then the last one that we're going to show you is 2b plus 8 minus 9 equals 5. This is a little more confusing because you don't really see algebraic expressions with parentheses as much, but it's basically the same thing. You just add 9 to both sides by, which is the first part of isolating the variable, so that you're left with 2b plus 8 equals 14, because you're adding 9. So you basically cross that out. My bad, forgot to do that. And now, since you're multiplying 2 by what's in the parentheses, to get rid of it, you have to divide. So you'd have to divide 2 by both sides, and you would be left with b plus 8, and then 14 divided by 2 would be 7. And then basically you would just subtract 8 to isolate the variable, and the final answer would be b equals -1, because 7 subtracted 7 subtracted by 8 would be -1, because 8 is larger than 7. And that would basically be it. I don't think there's any problems that are much harder than these, but if you have any questions, you can email me or Anthony. You know, the server for the Fordham Prep email thing. Alright, thank you, and good luck.